Let's have a look at the solutions for the algebra practice test. Okay, for the expression, this expression here, the only constant, which is not a variable, is -3, so the answer has to be B. The coefficient of x squared, the only x squared here, this is 1 over 3x squared. So the only coefficient is 4, so the answer is A. Then a metre of fabric. Chris buys a metre of fabric, she cuts off y plus 20. The amount of fabric left is... The answer is going to be D. And the reason that it's D is because if you thought it was 100 minus this amount cut off, what you've got here, if you've got 100 plus 20, you end up with 120 minus y. And you can't end up with more. You can't end up with more. So you've actually cut off 20 and whatever y is. So you've cut off 20, which is 80, and that's minus whatever the value of y is. So the answer must be D. Now, when you substitute the value of y equals 2 minus 6x minus 3x squared. And if you put x equals -2, you've got minus 6 times -2 minus 3 times 4 squared. 2 squared, sorry. It's 3 times 2 squared. So when you substitute that out, you find that the answer is A. Answer there is A. So let's turn the page and have a look. Here, this one seemed to trap a few people, but you don't need to be multiplying out decimals. What you're doing with a multiple choice is you're going to work out which one it can't be as much as you work out which one it can be. So what you can do is round off 3.6 to 4, round off 2.8 to 3, and then you can round off 3.1 to 3. So you've got a third pi r squared h. There's pi, there's r squared, which is 4 squared, and there's times h, which is 3, 2.8. So if you get that, that comes to about, I think, 144. And if you divide 144 by 3, because you divide 144 by 3, then you work out with about 36 approximately or so. So you can see that the only answer that it could be is C. So the answer is C. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. Question 6. 5y squared minus 6 plus 5xy squared, negative 5xy squared, minus 6 plus 3xy squared. You can add or subtract the two like terms. So negative 5xy squared plus 3xy squared becomes negative 2xy squared, and you've got your minus 6, so the answer is A. In this one here, you're going to multiply negative 3y by 2y. That becomes negative 6y squared. And then you're going to multiply negative 3y by negative 4, and that's 12y. So your 6y and your 12y become 18y minus 6y squared minus 5, so the answer is B. You may have thought that the answer is A, but it's a negative times a negative, which gives you a positive. If you make a mistake, like I did originally, of saying that that's minus 12y, then it would be this one here. But it's not. It's actually 18y. So the answer is B. Let's go and have a look at the next question. This one here, for each one of these, you've got to state the number of terms, state the constant, if there is one, and then state the term with the smallest coefficient. All right, so for A, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So part 1 is 4 terms. And here there is no constant because x is a variable or a pronumeral in each of those. There's none, no constant. Now the lowest one here is negative 3. So the term, not just the coefficient, but the term with the smallest, lowest coefficient is going to be minus 3x. In part B, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. The constant is no matter what the value for y is, it's going to always add plus 3. And the term with the lowest coefficient is this term here, negative 6y cubed. Then you're going to have a look at the last one. We'll have a look at the last one. You've got 1, 2, 3 terms, part 1. And then the constant term NC is plus 8. And the term with the lowest coefficient, because negative 4 is less than 3, it's negative 4b squared. Okay, Lisa buys a metre of fabric. Lisa buys a metre of fabric. She cuts X centimetres off the length. How much is remaining? Then for part A, it has to be 100 minus X. So it's M. You could have had M minus X. Right, then for part B, if she cuts another third off the remaining piece, how much has she removed this time? So you could have either this, you could have 100 minus X, then minus the 1/3 that she cuts off. But the simplest way to write it is 100 minus X divided by 3, because 1/3 means divided by 3. So whatever she's cut off is divided by 3. 100 minus whatever she's cut off divided by 3. So either answer is acceptable, but always go for the simpler one. Now, question 10 caused a fair bit of discussion about it, but what you have to do is think about during the 8-hour shift, Tony spends this amount of time on the phone dealing with client inquiries, and 1/2 of the remaining time he's talking with customers. So you could have, for part A, 8 minus, you could have 8 minus t over 2 squared, which would work out to be the same as 8 minus t over 2. If you substituted 2 for t, you do 8 minus 2 divided by, that will be 6 divided by 3. Or if you had 8 minus 6 divided by 2, be that 8 minus 2, sorry, 8 minus 2 divided by 2, you would still have the same thing. Then in the second part, which seemed to throw people a little bit, during his 8-hour shift, how long is he not answering the phone or talking with customers? So for the second part, right, for T hours, he's dealing with client inquiries. So it has to be T plus something equals 8. T plus something equals 8. Well, we worked out that the first part is 8 minus t over 2. So therefore it's got to be t plus 8 minus t over 2, and that's going to equal 8. Because it's the time that he's not answering the phone or talking with customers. On the phone for T hours, dealing with client inquiries. 1/2 of the remaining time he is talking with customers. So for how long is he not answering the phone? Then the last one here. Question 11. A rectangular mattress has a length of 6y centimetres and a width of 3y centimetres. Write an expression for the perimeter. You could have 6y plus 3y plus 6y plus 3y, which would be 12y plus 3y when you collect the like terms. Or you could have 18y, or we could have twice the length plus the width, which is twice 6y plus 3y. Now the area would be length times width, so the length is 6y times 3y, or 18y squared. Then what if it says in part C, what if all sides are increased by 2z? Write an expression for the new perimeter. So that would be each side, the length of the side is 6y and 3y, so it's 6y plus 2z. And it's also, the width would be 3y plus 2z. So you've increased both of them by 2z, so plus 2z. So substitute it back into our formula. You've got 2 times 6y plus 2z plus 3y plus 2z, which is exactly what you've got here, but just adding on the 2z to each one. So substitute y equals 4, and z equals 3. That becomes twice 6 times 4 plus 2 times 3, plus 3 times 4 plus 2 times 3. So we've got 6 times 4 is 24, plus 6 is 30, plus 3 fours are 12, plus 6 is 18, right? And that becomes 48, and twice 48 becomes 96. So P equals 96 centimetres. And that's the solutions to our practice test.